What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars steps into a bank, his own bank, and gets completely ignored? You won't believe what happens next. Stay till the end, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insane stories like this. Keanu Reeves was used to the attention. It came with the job. No matter how much he tried to downplay his fame, people always recognized him, whether he was buying coffee, walking his dog, or just trying to enjoy a quiet meal. But today was different. Today, he wanted to see what it felt like to be invisible. Dressed in a simple black hoodie, slightly faded jeans, and an old baseball cap pulled low over his forehead, Keanu walked through the glass doors of Genesis Trust Bank. This wasn't just any bank. It was an exclusive, high-net-worth institution where only the wealthiest of the wealthy held accounts. The kind of place where celebrities, business tycoons, and old money families kept their fortunes safe. And Keanu? He wasn't just a client here. He was a major investor, one of the bank's largest stakeholders. Yet, as soon as he stepped inside, something felt wrong. The lobby was breathtaking. White marble floors gleamed under the massive crystal chandelier. Plush leather chairs lined the waiting area, and a soft instrumental melody played in the background, creating an atmosphere of quiet luxury. Everything about the bank screamed exclusivity, except for the way they were treating him. He walked up to the reception desk, where a young woman with sleek blonde hair and a navy blue blazer sat behind a polished counter. She was focused on her computer screen, typing away, not bothering to acknowledge him. Keanu cleared his throat. "Hi, I'd like to speak with someone about my account." The receptionist didn't look up. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but—" "You need an appointment," she interrupted, her tone flat and uninterested. Keanu paused, raising an eyebrow. He wasn't expecting red carpet treatment, but this? Genesis Trust Bank prided itself on unparalleled customer service for elite clients. He had personally sat in meetings where bank executives boasted about how their clients received exceptional treatment, no matter the circumstance. Yet here he was, being dismissed without so much as a glance. "I understand," he said, keeping his voice calm. "But I've been banking here for years. I just need to check something important." The receptionist finally looked at him, briefly, just long enough to scan his clothes, take in his casual appearance, and decide that he wasn't worth her time. "Sir, I'm sorry, but we don't handle walk-ins for premium accounts," she said with a sigh, her fingers still tapping on the keyboard. "You need to book in advance. If you'd like, I can give you our standard customer service number." Keanu forced a smile. "That won't be necessary. Can I at least speak with a manager?" The woman hesitated, then went back to her screen. "Our managers are very busy today." Her dismissive attitude was almost amusing. Almost. Keanu wasn't the type to pull the denial card. He believed in kindness, in humility. He had spent years staying out of Hollywood drama, focusing on his craft, and treating everyone, from A-list celebrities to cafe baristas, with respect. But this was something else. Then, something even more ridiculous happened. A tall man in an expensive navy blue suit strolled past, shaking hands with an older gentleman who had just finished his transaction. The receptionist instantly straightened up, flashing the banker a warm, professional smile. "Mr. Patterson." She greeted him, her voice suddenly full of enthusiasm. "Would you like me to arrange your car service now?" The man, Patterson, chuckled. "No need, Jennifer, but thank you. Always a pleasure coming here." Keanu watched as she treated this man like royalty. She practically glowed with attentiveness, offering him assistance before he even had to ask. And that's when it hit him. They weren't just being unhelpful. They were judging him by his appearance. He wasn't Keanu Reeves, the A-list actor to them. He was just some ordinary guy in a hoodie. And in this world of wealth and status, appearance meant everything. Keanu exhaled slowly. Find out if this was how they played it, he'd go along. But he wasn't leaving. And by the end of the day, They would regret every second of how they treated him. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Keanu Reeves was not the type to cause a scene. He had built his reputation on being humble, kind, and patient. That's why, despite the cold reception he had just received, he didn't lash out, didn't pull off his cap and declare, "I own part of this damn bank." Instead, he smiled, a small, almost imperceptible smile, the kind that hid something. He took a step back from the reception desk and surveyed the bank floor. There were 3 customer service desks, each occupied by a sleekly dressed banker assisting clients. To his left, a man in his 50s, clearly a high net worth individual, was being handed a glass of sparkling water while an associate nodded attentively at everything he said. Behind them, another banker was walking a client to a private room where discreet financial dealings were surely taking place. But none of these services seemed available to him. Keanu turned his attention back to the receptionist, Jennifer. She had already forgotten about him, her attention now on her computer screen. It was clear she had written him off entirely. Keanu decided to test something. He took off his baseball cap and ran a hand through his hair, letting his familiar dark locks fall into place. He casually adjusted his hoodie, straightened his posture slightly, and walked back toward the desk. Then, in a more direct but still calm tone, he spoke. "I'd like to make a large withdrawal." Jennifer sighed, still not looking up. "Sir, as I said before." "It's an emergency," Keanu interrupted, keeping his voice even. "And I'd like to withdraw $5 million. Now." Silence. Her fingers froze over the keyboard. Her entire posture stiffened. Finally, she lifted her head, her expression shifting. For the first time, she really looked at him. Her eyes flickered over his face, and something about his features must have registered. Her mouth opened slightly, as if forming a question, but she quickly caught herself. "5 million?" she repeated, her voice suddenly less dismissive. "Yes," Keanu said. "Cash." The tension in the air changed instantly. Jennifer's professional instincts kicked in, and she scrambled to compose herself. "Sir, I'll need to check your account first." Keanu nodded. "Of course." She hesitated, then reached for her keyboard. "May I have your full name?" Keanu tilted his head slightly, amused. He wondered how long it would take before she pieced everything together. "Keanu Reeves." Jennifer blinked. There was no way she hadn't heard that name before. She worked at an elite bank that catered to the rich and famous. She had definitely seen his name in some client list, if not on a movie poster. But instead of reacting, she forced a stiff smile. "One moment, please." She began typing, her fingers moving much faster than before. As the screen loaded, Keanu leaned on the counter slightly, watching her face closely. He could see the shift in her expression as she pulled up his profile. Her eyes widened. Then, her entire posture changed. Her back straightened, her breathing slowed, and she suddenly looked very, very alert. The tension in her jaw suggested she was panicking. Because not only did Keanu Reeves have an account here, he was listed as a top-tier VIP client with direct access to executive banking services. And that wasn't all. He also had equity in the bank itself. Jennifer's lips parted slightly, but no words came out. Keanu could almost see the gears turning in her head as she realized exactly who she had just brushed off. But before she could speak, a voice interrupted. "Is there a problem here?" Keanu turned to see a tall, broad-shouldered man approaching from the private offices. He was in his mid-40s, with slick back hair and a perfectly tailored suit. The nameplate on his lapel read David Langston, Regional Director. Jennifer exhaled in visible relief. "Mr. Langston, this gentleman was just inquiring about a large withdrawal." Langston barely glanced at her before shifting his attention to Keanu. At first, his expression was neutral, but then, as recognition set in, his eyebrows lifted. Mr. Reeves? He said slowly. I, I didn't realize you were here today. Keanu smiled, his hands resting casually in his pockets. Apparently, no one did. Langston cleared his throat and instantly switched to full customer service mode. Please, let's step into my office. We can handle your request in private. Keanu didn't move. Why? What's wrong with doing it here? Jennifer looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Langston hesitated. Well, it's just a matter of privacy, sir. Given the amount, I don't actually need to withdraw $5 million, Keanu said suddenly. I just wanted to see how I'd be treated if I looked like a regular guy. Silence. Jennifer swallowed hard. Langston blinked. Keanu took a slow step forward. Turns out, your staff doesn't handle regular guys very well. Jennifer turned pale. Langston looked furious, but not at Keanu. At her. She started, but he cut her off. Jennifer, he said through gritted teeth, please wait in my office. She practically bolted. Langston turned back to Keanu, his expression a mix of embarrassment and damage control. Mr. Reeves, I sincerely apologize for any lack of professionalism you may have experienced. I assure you, this does not reflect the standards of Genesis Trust Bank. Keanu exhaled through his nose, shaking his head. Are you sure about that? Langston hesitated. Keanu could tell the man wanted to fix the situation as fast as possible. But Keanu wasn't done yet. He still had one last thing to do. Because this wasn't just about bad customer service anymore. It was about something bigger. And he was about to make sure everyone in this bank understood exactly who they were dealing with. To be continued. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. The tension in the air was thick. Keanu stood in the middle of the bank lobby, hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. The once confident receptionist, Jennifer, had practically fled to her manager's office, her face drained of color. Meanwhile, David Langston, the regional director, was doing everything he could to salvage the situation. Mr. Reeves, Langston started, his voice smooth but slightly strained, please allow me to personally ensure that your needs are met. It seems there has been a misunderstanding. Keanu raised an eyebrow. A misunderstanding? Langston hesitated. Yes, sir. Our staff is trained to provide excellent service to all our clients. I assure you, this is not a reflection of our bank's values. Keanu let the words settle for a moment before giving a small nod. Okay, then tell me, what exactly is your bank's policy on treating customers who don't look like they own half the city? Langston's face twitched slightly. He knew this was bad. He knew there was no easy way out. But instead of answering directly, he switched tactics. If you'd like, we can discuss this matter in my office, he said, lowering his voice. We value your privacy, and I'd be happy to personally go over any concerns you may have. Keanu exhaled through his nose. This guy was slick, but Keanu had been in Hollywood long enough to know when someone was trying to contain a situation rather than fix it. No need, Keanu said. I think I'd rather stay out here. More people should hear this conversation. A few customers in the waiting area had already noticed the shift in energy. Some were watching discreetly, while others were pretending not to listen. The bank employees, however, were fully aware of what was happening. Langston forced another smile. Of course, Mr. Reeves. Your comfort is our priority. Keanu studied the man for a moment, then spoke again, this time, his voice just a little louder. You see, David, he said, purposefully using his first name. The funny thing is, I didn't even come here to make a scene. I just wanted to handle my account, like anyone else. But instead, your staff decided I wasn't worth their time. Langston opened his mouth, but Keanu wasn't done. I walked in here today as a test, Keanu continued. I wanted to see if this bank, my bank, treats people fairly. Turns out, the answer is no. A hushed murmur spread through the room. Langston cleared his throat, his patience clearly running out. "Mr. Reeves, I deeply regret any inconvenience you may have experienced, and I will personally ensure that corrective measures are taken. I can assure you." Keanu took a step forward, his eyes locked onto the director's. "Tell me, David, what would have happened if I really had needed to withdraw $5 million today?" Langston stiffened. "Well, sir, that's a significant amount, and of course, there are security protocols." "No, no, no." Keanu shook his head, cutting him off. "What I'm asking is, would anyone have taken me seriously if I didn't have the name Keanu Reeves attached to my account?" Langston didn't answer. Keanu smirked slightly. "That's what I thought." The room was dead silent now. Even the tellers at their stations had stopped working, their eyes darting between the two men. Keanu finally took a deep breath and relaxed his stance. "Look, I don't want an apology," he said. "I don't want special treatment. What I do want is for you to think about what just happened here today. Because if this is how you treat one of your biggest investors, I can only imagine how you treat the people who don't have money." Langston swallowed. "We will review our customer service training," he managed to say. Keanu nodded. "Good, because I plan on reviewing a few things myself." And with that, he turned on his heel and walked out of the bank, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. What Langston and his employees didn't know, Keanu wasn't bluffing. By the end of the week, the entire bank was about to get a very unexpected shakeup. To be continued, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Keanu stepped out of the bank and into the California sun, his hands tucked casually into his pockets. To any passerby, he looked like just another guy leaving a bank, but inside, chaos was already unfolding. David Langston stood frozen, his mind racing. He had built his career on keeping high-profile clients happy, making the right connections, saying the right things. And in one afternoon, he had let the worst possible thing happen. He had dismissed Keanu Reeves like a nobody. Jennifer sat stiffly at her desk, staring at her screen, her face pale. She wasn't typing anymore. She wasn't pretending to be busy. She was waiting because she knew something was coming. 30 minutes later, Langston's office phone rang. The number on the screen wasn't just from corporate headquarters. It was from the very top. He picked up, forcing his voice to stay even. "David," the executive said, voice cold and controlled. "I assume you know why I'm calling." Langston swallowed. "Sir, I can explain." "You can explain," the voice repeated. "Good, because I have one question for you." A long pause. "Why is Keanu Reeves considering pulling his investment from our bank?" Langston's stomach twisted. "He called this morning," the executive continued, "said he had concerns about how Genesis Trust Bank handles customers. Said he wanted to reevaluate his financial involvement." Langston's throat went dry. "I have the board asking me," the executive went on, "why one of the most respected actors in Hollywood, an investor who has done nothing but bring us good press, suddenly doesn't want to be associated with us." Langston gripped the receiver. He opened his mouth, but the next words made his blood run cold. "And do you have any idea what's happening online right now?" Langston fumbled for his phone, opening Twitter. The first thing he saw was a trending video, a security camera recording. It had been leaked, probably by one of the tellers. It showed everything. Keanu walking in, being brushed off, Jennifer barely looking at him, Langston arriving. The reveal. The stunned silence. The caption? "Keanu Reeves just exposed the dark side of luxury banks. Watch how they treat regular people." The comments were brutal. "Fire, they judged the nicest guy in Hollywood just because he wasn't in a suit? Disgusting." "Fire, he tested them like an undercover boss and they failed." "Fire, imagine how they treat us if they do this to Keanu." "Fire Genesis Trust Bank, welcome to your PR nightmare." The video had millions of views in hours. News outlets were already picking it up. By morning, it was everywhere. The fallout was immediate. Internal emails leaked. Clients pulled their accounts. Investors started asking questions. Then came the headlines. Police car light luxury bank caught discriminating against Keanu Reeves. What it says about corporate elitism. Police car light Keanu Reeves just taught this bank a $50 million lesson. Police car light Genesis Trust Bank stock drops 8% after customer service scandal. Then, the final blow. Keanu made a statement. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't angry. It was calm. He posted a simple message. Everyone deserves respect, no matter how they look, no matter how much money they have. Treat people right. That's all. No bank name. No direct accusation. But the damage was done. Genesis Trust Bank stock fell another 5% by the afternoon. By the end of the week, Langston was fired. Jennifer was gone. The bank scrambled to release apologies, promising policy review and customer service reforms. But it was too late, because the internet never forgets. As for Keanu, he never spoke about it again. He quietly moved his investments elsewhere, to institutions that funded community projects, supported small businesses, and actually helped people. And the best part? He never even had to say it. The world had already seen the truth.